Today's episode of the More You Know podcast is brought to you by CrowdQuestion, a brand new social communication platform focused on connecting crowds to bring everyone closer to their community, as well as enhancing any occasion. Rather than being a social media platform focused on content and advertising, they're focused on communication and connection. Learn more about the platform and download the app free at crowdquestion.com.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The More You Know podcast.
Today I want to go through ways we as people attempt to avoid suffering that Patrick Morley discusses in The Man in the Mirror. Suffering is one of the most unpleasant aspects of the human experience, and because of this most people try to resist suffering, but unfortunately some suffering is unavoidable. We have two choices on how to handle suffering. We can become humbled by it and move forward, or try to resist and avoid it. And because certain levels of suffering are inevitable, we must take the suffering for what it is and humble ourselves towards it. Because if we try to avoid or resist our suffering, it will block us from learning from our pain. So with this being said, I now want to go through some common ways we try to avoid suffering. So first is that we compare. We compare ourselves to others, pointing out where we are better, or wish we were someone else instead of ourselves. Next, second is we pout, meaning we become discouraged over our circumstances and have a pity party. After that, third is we shout, meaning we become angry because of the pain we are suffering. And finally, fourth is we doubt, meaning once our suffering settles in, we realize how devastating it is and become afraid. No matter who you are, you're going to inevitably face suffering in life, and there's two ways you can go about handling it. You can resist and try to avoid the suffering, or become humbled by it and try to move forward. And obviously, you want to try to humble yourself so you can move past your suffering. And as you try to do so, you may be tempted to resist the suffering, but luckily by having awareness surrounding the common ways we attempt to avoid suffering, you can catch yourself going down that path, and by doing so continue down the path of humbling yourself and moving forward, which will no doubt provide immense value to your life, and not allow suffering to get in the way of making a tremendous impact in this world and crafting a life of significance. I hope this talk makes a positive impact in your life. Please subscribe to the podcast wherever you are listening or watching it. Check out other episodes. Leave a review. Follow the podcast on social media at More You Know Pod, and sign up for CrowdQuestion to ask me questions about the episode. Again, thank you for listening as we propel through podcasting with The More You Know.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The More You Know podcast.